Nina, a 25-year-old university graduate, recently lost her parents in a car accident and was left with a significant inheritance. Struggling with grief and uncertainty, she turned to her uncle Arman for emotional and financial guidance. Arman, aware of Nina's vulnerable state, convinced her to sign a contract transferring Rm500,000 from her inheritance to his business, claiming it would be a safe investment. Nina later learned that Arman's business was failing and the transfer only served to settle his debts.
Court is now in session. Please be seated. This is the case of the State vs. Arman, case number 2025CR001324, the defendant. Arman is charged with fraudulent misinterpretation. And the prosecution and defense may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Mr. Arman, I want to ask you a few questions. Okay. First, is it true you have a deal, a contract with Miss Nina to borrow money around 500,000 ringgit?
Yes, both of us agreed to sign the contract after a few discussions together.
Okay. Next, is it true you have invest the money for your business?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arman. Your Honor, I believe everybody will do the same thing Miss Nina do if the offer to invest the money for Mr. Arman's business, because Mr. Arman has a big company of food business in the state, so it have a guarantee to get back the return. So Mr. Arman also have the agreement with Miss Nina about to borrow 500,000 ringgit. So this make this case true for Mr. Arman. This is all from me. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I start anything, I want to ask you some questions, Mr. Arman. The first one is, are you aware that when you asked the question to Miss Nina's emotion was not really stable?
Yes, I know she is not stable that time because she lost both of her parents, and yeah, I got intention to help her that time.
It's good. And the second one is, do you really transfer the money to your business?
Yes, 100% yes, I transfer all the money in my business.
Because, Your Honor, there's some issue that I found from Mr. Arman's business background, which is stated that, yeah, Mr. Arman have a debt, a sum up of 400,000 ringgit. Yes. Yes. Oh yes, sir. Mr. Arman. By giving you this proof, Your Honor, I don't think that there's much thing to see. So that's all from me. Thank you.
In a small office, Farah, a single mother, tries to hold on to her job. She depends on it to support her children. Her boss, Lisa, knows this and uses it against her. Farah tries to explain how hard the long hours are, but Lisa doesn't care. She makes it clear that if Farah can handle it, she'll find someone else who can. Farah has no choice. She stays quiet and keeps working, even though it's unfair. This is a reality for many people, forced to choose between their dignity and their livelihood.
Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. The court is now in session. Please be seated. This is the case of Farah versus Lisa, case number 2025-CV003654. The plaintiff, Farah, alleges undue influence by the defendant. Both parties may proceed now.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, I will start this case with a few questions for Miss Lisa. Okay, Miss Lisa, did you know Miss Farah was a single mother?
Yes, I know because it's written on her resume before she applied for this job.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, for your information, Miss Farah was a single mother for 3 kids, and she need to find some job to pay rent and her car. Okay, next question I want to ask you. In my information, she was asked you to work more than 16 hours for help her family. Is it true?
Yes.
Okay, and it suddenly disagree with the offer.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lisa. Your Honor, with this information, I believe that this case was not a Miss Lisa mistake for being under influence, because I believe Miss Farah just want to test market in Miss Lisa business to get more opportunity and advantage to find a best job with a best salary, because she was a single mother with 3 kids and need more money to pay the rent, the car, and also for her kids. So this all from me. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Lisa, there's a question that I want to ask. I don't really have things to talk, but just one thing. Is it true that you have threatened Miss Farah that if she refuses your contract, you will fire her?
No, you got proof with that.
Indeed. I got proof. Your Honor?
Yeah.
Your Honor? Maybe. The thing that I just gave to the judge is a proof from Miss Farah's friend, which is Miss Aisha, that show that the right moment when you threat Miss Farah was on call with Miss Aisha, and I don't think there's any proof that I need to show just that, because that proof is relevant. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
So, the conclusion is, for the first case, Nina wins the case because the evidence strongly supports the claims of fraudulent misrepresentation and undue influence, rendering the contract voidable under the law. Firstly, Arman's actions satisfy the elements of fraudulent misrepresentation. He knowingly misrepresented his failing business as a safe investment while being fully aware of its severe financial distress. Nina relied on Arman's assurances to transfer RM500,000, unaware of the true state of his business. Evidence such as financial documents showing Arman's business debts and communications where he assured of Nina's safety establishes deliberate deception. This misrepresentation directly induced Nina to enter the contract, which is a clear basis for resigning it. Secondly, the case demonstrates undue influence, and Arman exploited his close familial relationship with Nina and her emotional vulnerability following her parents' death. Nina trusted Arman as a father figure and relied on his guidance during her time of grief. The rapid execution of the contract shortly after Nina received her inheritance highlights her compromised emotional state, indicating that her consent was not fully informed or voluntary. These factors establish that Arman abused his position of trust, negating Nina's ability to provide genuine consent. Arman's defense are unconvincing. His claim of lack of fraudulent intent fails because the evidence, such as business financial records, contradicts his argument of good faith. Additionally, his defense of voluntary agreement is weak. Undue influence nullifies true voluntariness even if a contract was signed. Given the evidence, the court would likely void the contract on grounds of fraudulent misrepresentation and undue influence. Arman would be ordered to repay the RM500,000 and Nina's claim would take precedence over other creditors in recovering funds for Arman's business or personal assets. Thus, Nina is entitled to a favourable judgment. For the second case, Farah wins this case because the contract was formed under undue influence, a principle in contract law that renders agreements voidable if consent is not freely given. Undue influence arises when one party in a dominant position exploits their advantage to secure an unfair benefit from a weaker party. In this situation, Lisa, as Farah's employer, held a position of power and used it to force Farah into an exploitative agreement. The unequal bargaining power between the parties is a key factor. Farah, a single mother, was financially dependent on her job to support the children, making her vulnerable to pressure. Lisa leveraged this vulnerability by threatening to fire Farah if she refused to accept the harsh terms of 16-hour shifts without overtime pay. This threat constitutes coercion and demonstrates that Farah's consent was not freely given but rather complied by her circumstances. Under contract law, agreements formed under undue influence are voidable at the option of the aggrieved party. The court would recognise that Lisa abused her dominant position to secure an unfair contract. Farah's claim is valid because her consent was obtained through undue influence, and the court would likely void the agreement to restore fairness.